Hello, everyone. Welcome to Going Home, a conversation with my mother, Pollyann Castle Baird.
Ooh,
Welcome,
hello,
Mother.
thank you.
How are you feeling today?
Well, I'm up for it.
Up
I'm
for
so
it.
up for
Okay,
it.
great. Well, we are going to have a conversation about accepting the end of life with grace. And I think that is so beautiful, Mom. I want to commend you right now for coming up with that topic and having the courage to come on and talk about what it's like at nearly 99. So,
Yeah.
thank you, everyone, for being here. It's our intention to create a conversation that might be a little difficult for some people, but it's important because why? Every one of us human beings are going to be in a place and a stage that someday we will face the end of life. So it is Mother's hope and mine that we all hopefully can face it with grace. Today, I'd love to introduce to you my mother, Pollyann Castle Baird. I'll give you a little bit of her background. She is the founder of a special 90-year-old club, online club that she named 90os, and it was
There
her
we are.
brand, 90os. And also, she's been an educator, a librarian, a playwright, and in the last third of her life, she has achieved being a ballroom dance champion, a national judge for rose arrangements, a chamber orchestra cello player, and most recently an author of not one but two books in which she wrote them almost blind. So nearly blind and nearly 99, Mother. What is your secret of so many achievements?
What's next?
You ask yourself that
Once
question.
I finish something or I have completed my what I wanted to do, then I say, "What's next?" And something always comes up. This project is my what's next.
Yes, indeed, it is. It's been a tough year for a lot of people, but your year has been quite a rock and roll, difficult one. And 2021, you were diagnosed with a terminal illness and therefore was assigned to hospice care in September of 2021. And we were very concerned because it looked as if you were going to exit stage left this lifetime. In fact, I remember that was your desire. You really were ready to leave this planet Earth, and you had said that's it. And so we gathered around you. We had the hospice nurses with the oxygen and the morphine, and
And
we had
and the bus was waiting.
the bus is always
Was
waiting. And we had my sisters came to say goodbyes, and we called, the mortuary. We were already, you were nearly on your last, your head, difficulty to get your head up off the pillow. And yet then there was a shift. Something happened, Mother. Something changed. What do you think that was? What happened to you? Life.
Oh, thank you. You know, I realized that life still loves me and did not want me to go anyplace. And I also realized that I too love life.
Mm,
So life loves me and I love life.
that is so beautiful. And though, you had made such a strong decision that you were done.
Mhm.
Is as if your willpower, if that's all there was, you would have been out of here. But there was something that, did you make a new decision that you were then going to be willing to live a little bit longer? Or was it maybe something greater or higher
It
than you
was,
that made the decision
it,
for you?
I don't know. I woke up one day and I thought, I'm not finished. I still have something. And my soul says, you're not finished yet. you ha- I I have something for you to do. There's a purpose. You need to wait a bit. And
Maybe something still left for
yeah,
you
there
to
was some,
do.
and I believe that so well that I think I just perked it up. The
Maybe
next
this is
day
it.
I was here. And
Mhm.
the day before I was here.
So maybe there's a message that you're being called to deliver. And I think that this is very, very important. Maybe there's something right here, right now, that we can help others. You know, and being nearly blind and nearly 99 is a special place to be. Not that you're just only blind, but I know that you're handicapped in other ways. You're in a wheelchair. You haven't been able to get out of the house or get around.
I can't cook.
Nope. So the thing is that at this stage of life, it's an opportunity to pause, first of all, and help the rest of us really understand what is it like to be at that stage and age. And also, maybe this is an opportunity that you yourself, maybe we can put an analogy that you're standing right in front of the heaven's gate. You haven't gone through there yet, and you're pausing. You're just taking a pregnant pause before you move on to going home. Um, and I want to just make an analogy that mothers always used, and that is how life is a journey. I think one of your favorite coaches, she's such a sports fan. One of her favorite coaches used to say, "Life is just a journey," and I think that's why mother loves to use the analogy of the bus. The analogy of the bus being an analogy of we get on the bus and we go through our lives.
To go home.
And you know what is I just would like to acknowledge that in fact was this cartoon was on mother's books, both of her books that she wrote, the analogy of stopping to remember and looking back at your life with sweet remembrances,
With joy.
with joy. And you get on the bus and you stop at certain decades along the way, and you look at your life with joy. And now we get to stop here right before the heaven's gate, and right before you might be getting on the bus to go home to your final destination, mother. So it's my joy and pleasure to ask you just a few questions, if that's okay, what it's like for you right now.
Okay.
And I do know that there's been three things that you've been telling me that you really wanted to talk about as your perspective, being nearly 99. Those three things, could you tell us what are the three things that really are helping you right now be 99? The first one being having to do with the joy you were talking
Okay.
about.
Yes, the last few years of our lives, um, we don't have everything we've had before. So the first thing is it's a softer joy. It's really
Softer
important
joy.
to
I
still
love
have that
that.
joy in your heart, that joy of giving and appreciation, but it's a softer joy. I can sit for a while and just kind of feel sweet. It just feels it's a softer joy.
I think that's lovely. I mean, time slows down
Yes,
obviously for
yes.
you, and I know you have the can'ts. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't see. I can't really watch
Or
television
read.
anymore.
I
I
can't
can't read.
read,
I
can't
can't do
see
this.
TV.
TV is at least it's something you can hear and some entertainment. But the softer joy helps you cope with being able to accept with grace
Second
what it
one
is.
is
Second one.
second one, yes. No whining.
Mm,
No whining. So many of my contemporaries, you get together and it's a litany of pain of they were in the hospital 10 years ago and still talk about it. So no whining
no
is
whining, and
a good practice.
it is a good practice. It's a discipline. It's a practice. I love the word practice, Mom,
Oh,
because
yes,
it takes practice to, even though you might be in pain, to find something else to verbalize, that is to look for the good,
mhm,
to look for the good, and there's always a good somewhere. There's
yes.
always a good somewhere. That kind of leads into the third point that you've often said about patience.
Yes, patience. Wow. With the three put together, they are encompassed in the a feeling of grace.
Mm.
So it's a, if you live with grace, you have been able to fulfill the grace with no whining, patience, and joy.
And the softer joy. And that is so sweet and so beautiful. Not that everything in your life is sweet and beautiful. We have to say that, the reality of being at end of life care, quite a bit of fear involved, and, a lot of maybe wondering what's next for you and what it's going to be like. And of course, there's none of us that can get past the point of having the fear of grief, and being overwhelmed with the fear of grief. And
Fear.
that
Yeah.
gives me a little segue here to ask you a question about something that I know bothers you. One of the biggest bothers that I've heard you talk about for people of your age group,
Okay.
99-year-old age group, is that you feel a little pressured to live longer.
Oh.
And I've heard you say, why do people always just say, oh, you're almost 99. I hope you live to be 100. I hope you live to be 100. And that somehow irks you. Why? Why?
Well, it's hard enough to be 99.
It's hard enough to get here.
Yeah,
right?
and
Pressure.
they don't know how much energy and it's like sitting in the depot and waiting for a train, waiting for the bus to come. And I talked to a friend of mine yesterday, and she's in the same way. She lives with her daughter, and they're so sweet. But
She's
said,
95, right?
Yeah, and she just said, we're just waiting because we can't do anything. But we're not complaining. We're just making a happy choice.
That's right. And I think that sometimes the medical profession and our culture puts a lot of pressure to live longer, spend more, even, to have another surgery or this or that, to go do every measure possible to live longer, stay with us. And some of us, and maybe you've expressed this, are just okay with allowing life to be, and your time will come when it's perfect and ready. And what do you think is behind all this pressure and cultural force to live longer?
Could we explain that with the conversation with the doctor?
Yeah.
Yes.
The story about the doctor, Dr. Reichel?
Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Reichel, when we were there, said he had a 98-year-old patient whose family, who he needed an operation, and whose family really forced him to have that operation because they wanted him to live to be 100. And he really didn't have the compass mentis at that time to make his own choice. So that's kind of sad, but it points to the fact that there is a lot of pressure for everyone to live longer, longest. And why? One of the questions that I have for you, Mother, is, do you think that it really is because the rest of us around you, family members and society in general, just are afraid of facing the end, facing death, and facing our own grief and loss,
I
and
can't.
saying the final goodbye?
Well, you brought up a thought that I have expressed, but for instance, people, our neighbors, will ask Lynn, "How's your mother? How's your mother?" And I say, "Well, how's come they ask you how I am? They could come in the same building and knock on my door and say, 'Hey, how are you today? Just wanted to say hi.'" But I never see anybody at my door. I think they're afraid. They're uncomfortable. They don't know what to expect.
And I think that you're right. And it's wonderful to be able to have you as a role model to express that what it feels like at the age of 99 is to have to be open to an invitation for more compassion, more care, more community more involvement, and in a way that will help us, inform us to be less involved with the fear and the distancing that happens at the end of life. So creating end of life, accepting end of life with grace
Yeah.
is what this is all about.
Yes, it is. And it's a joyful ride. I am enjoying it, with my waiting.
And what I love is that we still have this day, one more day
Yeah, we
that
came.
Mother wakes up and here she is, bright and shiny. It's one more day that I get to have with my mother, and she gets to have
Sweetheart.
with me and with our family. And the sweet thing about that is that life is sweet. Life
Yeah.
is good. And while we're still here, let us enjoy it and let us accept the end of life and all of our decades as we move toward the end of life. Let us accept it with grace. And we have a saying in our family. I'd like to acknowledge one of our elders, Annie Maud,
Yeah.
who lived to be almost 102 and in a nursing home. And every person who visited her room, she would say the following, and you've told me many times. Would you like to tell everyone what she would say?
Yes. She would say, "Isn't life grand? Not great, but grand."
Isn't life grand?
From her bed.
Mm-hmm.
And
you were with her every day for the last part of her
the
life.
last 3
and so
years,
it was really
every
sweet.
night we had supper together in the nursing home. And a nurse at one time said, "Why do you keep coming here? You get a life." I said, "This is my life. Visiting my aunt is my life."
So
I wouldn't change it for anything.
that's really nice. Not changing it for anything is an attitude of gratitude. So let's just sign off on that note. We're very, very grateful to be here. We're grateful you were here. And thank you so much for being with us as we have this conversation about what it takes to accept the end of life or any part of our lives with grace. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.